From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week and another month as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. Well, Wally, we've basically hit the July 4th holiday weekend, which in Major League Baseball, the 4th of July is like a milepost.
Right.
It's where teams will take inventory and try to figure out if they're in the race, out of the race, want to add a piece, subtract a piece, stand pat, whatever. And the Minnesota Twins, what we do know is they're not in first place, but they're clearly in playoff contention.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, no question, the emergence of Byron Buxton, that he has been playing basically every day for the most part, and he's been hitting. And the return of Royce Lewis to the lineup, who makes people around him better. I know all the home runs in such a short span makes you think the guy's going to hit 50, which isn't going to happen, of course. But I think that the fact that he is in the lineup on a daily basis makes them that much better, whether you're batting before him and you're going to see more pitches or you're batting after him because he's on base is a big factor.
So one of the big keys for the Twins moving forward is keeping Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, and Royce Lewis
no doubt
in the lineup, on the field, as much as possible. Now, sometimes they don't play because of Rocco. Load management. You know, Carlos Correa,
don't get me started.
When they wrapped up the road trip in Seattle, didn't play the Sunday game, and they were off Monday. I don't agree with that mindset, unless Correa told Rocco, hey, I need a break. And I don't know what he said or didn't say, but I have a hunch Carlos wanted to play that day.
Yeah, well,
against the first-place Seattle Mariners.
Even if you DH. And they ended up winning the baseball game, so there was...
It's a moot point.
Yeah,
but,
right. Yeah, there was no skin off him.
But those Mariner fans who drove in from Spokane hoping to see Carlos Correa were disappointed.
Yeah, well, I don't care about Spokane.
Oh, okay, well, Vancouver.
Okay, I care even less about Vancouver, to be quite honest with you. That's in Canada, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Well,
although there's a Vancouver, Washington
it is.
as well. Yeah.
Just across the river from Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
That's all Mariners territory.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Will it ever be NBA territory again becomes the question.
Oh, wow. Yes, it's just a matter of when.
Just a matter of when. Okay, so we brought up Royce Lewis. And I think that as far as looking into the future, I think that he is their young superstar to be, if he isn't already right now. So I'm going to pose a question for you.
Okay.
If you look at the big four major league professional teams in the Twin Cities, okay, the Vikings, the Wild, the Wolves, and the Twins, each of them has one of those young superstars. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. So Kirill with the Wild, Justin Jefferson with the Vikings, Royce Lewis with the Twins, and, of course, Anthony Edwards with the Timberwolves. Now, if you could keep three of those four, only one of them you have to lose. Which team do you think could survive? Which one would you say, okay, I'll give this guy up because the other three need their superstar?
I would say the purple. Because I think as good as Justin Jefferson is, he's an elite wideout. He's explosive. He's acrobatic. You never worry about his effort. But you can try to take wide receivers out of the equation if you're a good defense or smart defensive coordinator, or at least you can frustrate him. And there's a lot of defenses you can run, double team, triple team, that kind of stuff. The other thing is, in the case of any superstar wideout in the NFL, you still got to have a guy who can get you the football. And say what you want about Captain Kirk Cousins, but once he and J-Jets got their symmetry down and they were in sync, that was a pretty good tandem. Very good tandem. And so we don't know with Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy how that's going to work out, getting Justin Jefferson the ball. Now, if you were saying Adrian Peterson back in his heyday, I wouldn't give him up because all you got to do is hand him the ball, right? That's a little easier than throwing the football.
Well, that's right. It takes two to tango with throwing the football.
Yes.
Well, and here's the other piece, too, I think, with the Vikings. Without Justin Jefferson, they won a bunch of games last year. Do you recall that?
I do. Yeah, they And I think they spread the wealth a little more. Remember, they have Jordan Addison, they have T.J. Hawkinson, they have some weapons. And this isn't meant to, throw shade on Justin Jefferson.
No, not at all.
I'm certain that other teams in the NFL contacted Kwesi or KOC about, is he on the blocks? Can we get him? And the Vikings obviously didn't hear the kind of offer they wanted, so they stood pat. And he's got the mega bucks deal now.
And that actually goes to my point as well. He's probably, or was anyway, as recently as draft time in the NFL, the most likely guy to have been moved. There's no way the Twins are going to move Royce Lewis. There's no way the Wild can move Kirill Kaprizov. And certainly, if the Timberwolves did anything to move Anthony Edwards, they might as well fold up the tent and they could play. They could play over at They could play at the Maturi Pavilion because there's going to be nobody coming to their games anymore.
There would be pitchforks and there would be angry fans gathering outside of Target Center.
Yeah.
Ant is the man right now. I think overall in this market, Ant's the man based on the success that Timberwolves have had. But I agree. You take Kirill Kaprizov off the Minnesota Wild, and oh boy, what are they? They're even below average, right? Right now they're at average. And he's a grinder, too. That's what I like about Kirill. He's a star, but he does the dirty work, too. He's not afraid to get hit. And then, of course, Royce just brings incredible energy to the ballpark.
Okay. Well, I just thought I'd throw it out and see what you thought.
Okay.
All right. We're going to talk some more Twins, I hear.
Yeah, Al Newman, two-time World Series champion, will join us here on 10K Takes, your Twins ticket.
Hot rod, collector cars, street rods, muscle cars, vintage Corvettes, oh my goodness. Whatever you ride, Lakeville loves them too. There are many great car events in the area that you will love Lakeville as much as you love your cars. Join us for Cruise Night in July, featuring a classic car and truck parade throughout our city and historic downtown. Plan your trip at visitlakeville.org.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Maya? Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back, 10,000 Takes. And as we discussed a little earlier, Minnesota Twins have turned the corner, playing well of late. And to talk more about the Twins, joining us now, former Minnesota Twins player and coach, world champion in both 87 and 91, Al Newman joins us from sunny Florida. All right, Al. They have, at least for the time being, looked like a playoff team. They're pitching fairly well. I'd say 3 out of the 5 starting spots. And they're scoring a ton of runs, which I think has been pivotal to their recent success. Your thoughts on where they are right now as we head towards the All-Star break?
Well, thank you guys for having me on again. It's always nice talking Twins baseball. But as you mentioned, I think with the better play comes a consistent lineup. And I just think that the guys are playing, and he's still rotating, but yet not as often as it's less than it's infrequent as it was before. So it's been fun to watch. I'm excited for this team. I hope they hang on and maybe make a few moves. When I say a few moves, just a few minor moves, because that's what the Twins do if they do anything at the All-Star break.
Al, Byron Buxton right now projected to play 122 games. I think we would all be ecstatic if we were told that's what would happen back in March down in Florida, spring training. So if Buxton continues to play and Carlos Correa and Royce Lewis stays on the field, is that a threesome that is the equal of maybe what you played with? Kent Herbeck, Gary Gaetti, Kirby Puckett?
Well,
Tom Bernansky, that's a fourth guy.
I was looking at their numbers, and yes, that is exciting that Buxton's in the lineup. I like where he's been hitting in the batting order. That 5th, 6th slot, takes a little bit of pressure off production-wise for him. Because, guys, when I looked at this lineup, and yes, it's great that Buxton's out there, but I just look for consistency. You mentioned the 4 guys with the 87 team. I don't think this team has that kind of power. I think this is more of a 15 to 20 home run trio there, and just hit for average and try to move guys in and score runs. But I like our lineup. I really do. Miranda's really done a great job. Larnach's done. He's added into the mix. And I really like that Martin kid. I mean, that was a good move up, I think, letting Gordon go. And even though they initially started with Farmer as the guy, but I really think Martin's done a nice job moving around. And how can we forget who I think is one of our all-stars is that Willie Castro. So Castro's done some great things, and so has that shortstop Correa. So there's 6 guys, man, that I think if they hit 15 to 20 home runs, I think this offense can carry them to the finish line. Okay.
Talking about adding or subtracting at the trade deadline, which comes up at the end of July, Max Kepler. Now, his contract is up at the end of this season. Now, if they weren't in the race, it would be an easy decision. They would trade him off. But with Wallner playing as well as he is down in St. Paul, do you think they take the chance and dangle him out there to try and pick up another piece, maybe somebody for the bullpen, or add an end-of-the-rotation type of pitcher, and say, okay, Wallner, red hot in St. Paul, let's move you into right field as our left-handed hitter out there and move Kepler on? What are your thoughts?
He was on the list of guys, in case you asked me that question. He was definitely on the list of about 4 or 5 guys that I would consider trading if I was the Twins. Max is, heck, my favorite player. He wears number 26. But the last couple of years he's been in and out of the lineup, although he shows you flashes. I think that the younger kid, Wallner and Larnach, and can more than handle that. Martin plays the outfield, so there's guys that I think can pick up the slack. If you put Kepler, maybe you piece milling with Varland and you might get something. I'm not down on Varland, but Woods Richardson has shown that he can pitch up here, and I believe Varland's a bullpen arm. So if a team wants him as a starter, maybe you'll get more for him.
Al, Carlos Correa a year ago playing with plantar fasciitis, he still put up, okay offensive numbers. He was good in the field, excellent in the playoffs with some great defensive plays, and he's always been a leader in the clubhouse. But now he's 100%. Do you think the San Francisco Giants or the New York Mets, who both tried to sign him and had him and then backed out after a medical prognosis, do you think they're having buyer's remorse or regret?
Well, at the time, I understood. The Mets have made a lot of mistakes with guys, Scherzer, to name one, and they dishing out money to Bobby Bonilla years after he's out of the game. So their payroll, their problems have been huge. But I just think Correa is comfortable here. It said something for the Twins to take him in when everybody kicked him to the curb. And he's more of a yeoman type guy. Even when he was with Houston, this is what he was. He just had a lineup that was so loaded that when playoff time came in, it was his time. So Carlos has done a great job. He's another guy that I think could be a representative for the Minnesota Twins at the All-Star game. I think he and Castro are our 2 guys. But, yes, he's done an outstanding job, especially on defense. And as you mentioned earlier, you need a clubhouse guy, whether he's rah-rah or whichever way he does it, he is the captain on that team.
The closer, Johan Duran, has not quite been what he was, particularly a year ago. He's been hit around a little bit, not to say that he hasn't been effective at times, but he is certainly not the unhittable guy that we saw a year ago. Couple of questions for you. One, what do you think that goes back to? And 2, it seems that he intimated that he's getting his pitches called from the dugout, which tells me that, they're telling him to throw breaking balls. I would just tell that go out there and throw 102 miles an hour and forget about the breaking ball. I mean, it seems to me that is his problem. Your thoughts on those 2 questions?
That's definitely nail on the head right there. if he's not able to call his pitches as a closer who comes in and the game is on the line, he's got to be throwing pitches that he's 100% confident in throwing. And if they're calling something and you've already got a grip in your glove for another pitch, you're not throwing that pitch with conviction. And that's never good for a guy who comes in when the game is on the line. You know, it's 1 or 2 runs, and you're supposed to shut the door. So if anybody should be throwing their own pitches, I think it should be him. He's got 102 in his back pocket, a split finger, and a changeup. Well, if he's pounding 102 like he wants to, it makes those other pitches totally unhittable.
Al, since we last talked, Major League Baseball lost a Mount Rushmore face in Willie Mays. Did you have any interaction with Willie Mays? Obviously, your career and his, I don't think there was any intersection there, but certainly you knew about him. Did you meet him? And just your thoughts on the impact he had on baseball and really the USA.
Well, you know, for me, I know I never had an opportunity to meet Willie, was never in the same ballpark with him. I just remember him at, in 1969 back in the day. He was an older player, had his injuries and things of that nature, but he was to say, hey, kid. I remember as a little kid having a Willie Mays wooden bat. That was my treasured item that I got at the 5 and 10 cent store back in the day. So, no, just an iconic figure as was Aaron. Those guys carried the game for my culture. It's just unbelievable how all of a sudden these guys are passing, right before our eyes, and hopefully the players in the game today understand and like the baseball history. One of my biggest things about modern players, or when I was coaching, is when you hear a player say he doesn't know the history of the game. I think you learn the history of the game by obviously they have a love for the game, but the depth of the game, I think a lot of players miss out on these iconic figures.
Al, the All-Star game is coming up. They've turned it. I think that Fox has turned it into a circus. There's no longer any meaning to it. It certainly doesn't have the zest that it had back when you were playing. Certainly in the 70s and the 80s and even into the 90s. I thought that American and National was a big deal. What are your thoughts about the All-Star game now? Is it still? Are you still excited by it at all?
Well, the home run derby has taken over. As far as what people I think that ticket is more expensive than the actual game. People love as they say, chicks dig the long ball. So the home run contest is definitely the show pony. The actual game, National League versus American League, to me, when they went to the schedule where you play interleague, I think it lost that luster as far as what it meant to be a National Leaguer versus an American Leaguer. So the DH and all that has changed the game. I don't think do they even put the World Series on the line for that anymore? Because
no, hasn't been for a few years now.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know what's on the line. So it's just a showpiece with the home run derby being the centerpiece.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Al, appreciate you spending some time with us. As usual, we'll touch base again in a few weeks, and we'll see if this Twins ship is floating towards the playoffs. Hopefully it will be come trade deadline time.
Well, thanks, guys, and go Twins.
See ya. He is Al Newman, a world champion in '87 and 1991 with the Minnesota Twins. Eric and I will be back with more here on 10,000 Takes after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Absolutely.
This is green light situation.
Lee Hodges.
TPC Twin Cities, you never know what you're gonna get.
I'm strolling in historic downtown Lakeville, which is the heart of Panaprog activities. Panaprog is short for Panorama of Progress, and this festival has been going on since 1967. Over 65 events spanning over a week. You'll need to stay more than a night to get your fill of fun. Panaprog offers a wide variety of events and activities for all ages. Panaprog is a celebration of all things local. Plan your trip at visitlakeville.org.
Welcome back, 10,000 Takes. We're avoiding talking about the National Football League in general. Of course, we mentioned Justin Jefferson earlier. But the NHL in the news, your Minnesota Wild in the news. They had a draft where they picked up a bunch of defensemen, and their schedule is out. They'll be facing off before you know it.
Oh, boy. October 10, Columbus at Minnesota. Way too early to start the NHL. Oh, my goodness. Can you wait at least a month?
No.
It's not even cold here yet in October.
Well,
usually.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, the lakes aren't frozen.
Well, you don't trick or treat very often, do you?
Well, okay, but this is October 10th.
Yeah, it is a little early for me, too. All right. Draft-wise, they go out and pick up a bunch of defensemen, and they get this kid, this Zeev Boyum from the University of Denver. Do you like the choice? Do you like what they're doing?
Well, it's certainly getting rave reviews from the hockey experts. Zeev Boyum played on the Frozen Four champion Denver Pioneers. That's a great program they have out there in Colorado. His brother was on the team. He spent some time in San Diego. He went to Shattuck St. Mary in Faribault, where I think back in the day, Sidney Crosby went there, Zach Parise. So it sounds like a very good pick for the Minnesota Wild, who do need to shore up their defense.
Yeah. Well, if you can't stop them with your goaltender, you better have defensemen that can stop them.
I think Philip Gustafson and Marc-Andre Fleury are very happy.
Yeah, they cheer that choice on for sure. Your Minnesota Timberwolves have also been kind of on the periphery of the news anyway with the draft. And I think that we all looked at that draft and thought, yeah, they're not going to do anything. They're drafting, what are they draft, like 27th or something like that. But Tim Conley went out, made some moves, got a couple of guards, traded up all the way to the 8th spot, took San Antonio's pick. They got this Dillingham kid that I think they want to slot him in right behind Michael Conley. You got to like what they're doing, though, because they don't have any cap room. But they did add about $30 million to the luxury tax. So they're paying an extra $30 million to have these guys on board.
Yeah, and the so-called NBA experts, I use that phrase in air quotes, but they think some believe Minnesota won the draft, which is amazing. I thought it would be a throwaway draft, given all the picks that Tim Conley gave up to acquire Rudy Gobert from Utah a year and a half ago. But it does sound like Dillingham out of Kentucky. He's 19. He's explosive. If Mike Conley can stick around for a year or two more, what a perfect guy to groom him, Dillingham, to become an NBA player. And then there's Terrence Shannon Jr. out of Illinois. I saw him play in the Big Ten tournament at Target Center. He had a good postseason, March Madness, cleared of charges of some sexual assault stuff, but he was cleared. Let's make sure we're on board with knowing what happened. So he's ready to go, and that could be a steal for the Timberwolves too.
Yeah. We shall see how it pans out, see how much playing time those guys get. All right, takes of the day coming up next. We are 10,000 Takes, your Timberwolves ticket.
Absolutely.
This is green light situation.
Lee Hodges.
TPC Twin Cities, you never know what you're gonna get.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. We'll get the takes of the day here shortly. You're going to find out if over this July 4th holiday week, are you going to explode like a Roman candle? We'll soon find out. But hey, kudos to Cheryl Reeve, Minnesota Lynx head coach. She is the WNBA Coach of the Month for June. Angel Reese, the Rookie of the Month from the Chicago Sky. And I know the Lynx knocked off the Sky the other day.
Yeah, but do you think, realistically, that more people are going to show up when the Sky come to Target Center or when Caitlin Clark and the Fever come? There is no doubt what's going to happen.
I think Caitlin Clark will fill up Target Center, no doubt.
I agree.
A lot of folks from Iowa will come up I-35 just to see her. But I do think there will be a large gathering for Angel Reese. She's become her own brand. There's a lot of Chicago transplants in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, that's too bad, too.
And besides, the Sky are the only thing to cheer about in Chicago. It's certainly not the White Sox or the Cubs.
Yeah, or the Bears, for that matter.
Or the Blackhawks or the Bulls.
Yeah, none of them are very good. I believe we need to do takes of the day.
All right, let's find out what your mood is. Tell us.
Oh, you're not even going to give me the list?
No, I already said. Are you going to blow up like a box of firecrackers?
Oh, okay.
What's the deal?
All right, fair enough. Well, there is a minor league team. They're the Class A affiliate of the team formerly known as the Cleveland Indians. They are the Lake County Captains. And you would think they wouldn't have any trouble bringing folks into the ballpark. Well, they have kind of upped the ante, so to speak. They have added 8 new chairs behind home plate, and yes, you're looking at it. They are toilet seats. There are 8 high-end seats right behind home plate, the most expensive seats in the house. They are the toilet seats, and to get there, you pay the extra bucks. You also get your own personal bathroom attendant.
Oh, boy.
Who comes out and brings you a bottle of Scope, a little mouthwash. You'll get a brush, a comb, some soap, kind of get the whole act cleaned up. And this, despite the fact that the Captains were the champions of the first half in the Midwest League. So I don't know if they had trouble getting people into the door, and they decided with this outrageous promotion. But something new all the time in minor league baseball, and the Lake County Captains, so to speak, have taken the cake.
All right, well, let's see where the mood meter lands. Oh, it's going to be right there in the middle. Sarcastic Sam. Well, don't squeeze the Charmin, right? Something like that.
Yeah, well, it's a crappy idea.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right, well, my take of the day, we heard Al Newman say earlier in the show that when it comes to the All-Star game these days, the home run derby is the show pony. The game is the afterthought. And he's probably right. Most people are, focused on who can hit a ball the farthest. It's tater time. But I would say this, as of this recording, the first player to commit to the home run derby, Gunnar Henderson, the outstanding shortstop for Baltimore. But if I'm Brandon Hyde, the manager of the Orioles, or any other skipper around MLB, and one of my players is going to go into this derby, I'd be a little skittish because it is exhausting. Yeah. You know how hard it is to get up there and swing and swing and swing, and every time you're trying to jack the ball over the fence, because that's the purpose of this thing. And you can develop some bad habits, and you can get tired, and baseball being what it is, full of load management and days off, I got a feeling Gunnar Henderson and some of these guys after the break might need another break.
Yeah. Well, one thing, the Twins don't have to worry about it. There will be no Twins in it.
And if one of the Twins was in the Derby, Rocco would give him the month off after the home run Derby. All right, let's go. We'll FedEx out those thank yous. Rocky, David Weld, Paul Langfellow, Al Newman. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.